What you're about to see is my very first reaction. It's to Stivarius, Strandberg has a serious problem video, and it gets pretty emotional at times. If you want to be around next time, you'll find all my links in the description. Enjoy! Hello YouTube, hello Stivarius. Thanks for being so kind to letting me react to your video. I think this is really relevant. We have to talk about this. Since I started Twitch and YouTube last January or this January 2025, I've been only seen with Strandberg guitars on Twitch, on YouTube, and I played them on my both EP releases. And yeah, I'm a Strandberg guy. I'm a Strandberg hardcore fan. I have to say that. This video really felt I had mixed emotions, but I have to agree to a lot of what Stivarius is gonna say. So again, shout out and thank you to Stivarius. Please drop him a like and subscribe. He's one of the coolest guys and most authentic guys on guitar YouTube that I currently know. So shout out to you, my man, and let's ride with it.
Okay, I don't want to do this, but someone has to talk about this. Strandberg has a problem, and it's a very serious and persistent problem. I have had hundreds of comments and messages from people encountering these same set of issues on their Strandbergs as I have been having on this Strandberg Bowden Metal NX6. You already know my theory that every single Strandberg is built in the same Indonesian
Strip aside a bit of his humor, right? This dude is super cynical about what he's saying, right? But take a look at the logo and the comments that he just showed, that stuff is real in the Strandberg community. So there's lots of people that buy their first Strandberg guitar and are not disappointed, but are kind of shook by some of the things they discover in their guitars. And now let's roll with it.
You already know my theory that every single Strandberg is built in the same Indonesian factory by the same people in the same room using the same tools and build techniques on the Budget Essentials lineup as they are on the $3,000 Pliny lineup. In other words,
and that, my friends, from what we know, is already quite true. There's been plenty of different documentaries on those Indonesian guitar factories, and in a very recent one that also included brands like PRSSE, if I remember correctly, and some of the Schecter stuff. We even saw that building from the outside and a brief look on the inside. So in fact, every Strandberg guitar that I ever touched or owned has that on their back. It says Swedish design Swedish design made in Indonesia. So to give you a bit of my perspective on that, of course, that sounds like a bummer at first glance, but according to what we know, Strandberg has heavily invested into training these people and collaborating with them. So there's a difference between sending your guitar drafts to a factory and then letting them do their thing. That's a story that we can hear about a lot on YouTube. For example, Guitar Max recently shared a video where he basically told the story how he wanted to start a guitar brand. But yeah, those Indonesian contract factories are a thing, and Strandbergs are in fact produced there. That's why 99% of Strandbergs have this Swedish design made in Indonesia and patented neck profile thingy on the back of the headstock. The only exceptions being the J Artisan series, which is crafted in Japan, These have crazy resin filled tops and whatnot. These are completely different guitars, but all standard Strandberg guitars are manufactured in Indonesia, from what we know, in the same factory, from what we know. But as I said, also according to what we know and what Strandberg gives away, they actually educate their people quite a lot, and they closely collaborate with these manufacturers, which doesn't have necessarily to be true for all the other guitar brands. But let's ride on here.
The quality craftsmanship feels the same on the cheaper models as the more expensive models, which are now up to $2,500 and $2,600 with the new N2 lineup. And I mentioned briefly in that video.
Please remember that number. That's basically what I paid for my original NX7 when I bought it. It was like $2,700 or something like that. And that's going to be a main aspect of my argumentation later on. Keep in mind, a Strandberg, a new one from Strandberg Direct or a retailer, costs you around $2,000 to $2,800, depending on the exact model. And I'm specifically talking about the upper line models, like the original NX or the Metal NX that I'm playing a lot, or the Prog NX, right? That's the models that I'm playing, and these models are around or on closer to 3K than to 2K. Yeah, and that's what Mr. Drummer is just saying is one of the considerations we have to take into account. By adding another 2K, we could actually go to a like really boutique custom shop builder and get something very unique and very special. I mean, that's kind of what I did with Aristides, but let's follow the video and what he has to share.
Video about how I feel like Strandbergs do not feel nearly as finely crafted as other import guitars in that similar $2,000 price bracket. But since that video, some things have happened and I can no longer hold back my frustrations. We have to talk about this in much greater detail. To be crystal clear, I love this guitar and I love Strandberg. I have made problems.
Same here. And I want to re-emphasize that, right? I've been exclusively playing my Strandbergs on stream and on YouTube. I have some very nice Solas and Ibanez guitars over there, but these guitars mean a lot to me, and I truly love them. Hence, I always played them whenever I was in front of a camera. That's really important to me. I really love this brand.
Probably 20 videos on my Instagram where I have preached that every single guitar player should try a Strandberg at least once in their lifetime because it revolutionized what playing guitar meant for me after having already played for 20 years before trying one of these. I have hundreds.
Similar experience. I've been playing guitar for around about 18 or 19 years when I first got my hands on a Strandberg.
Of messages and comments from people telling me that I opened up their mind to the idea of playing a Strandberg, and that feels amazing that I was able to influence people to do something that has made such a positive impact on my guitar playing life. I even covered every single Necrophages solo from Epitaph and then played them all in one take. I have written and recorded my best Firelink solos to date on this guitar. And Strandberg was and still is one of the top companies that I hope to work with, having started my social media career this year. I fell in love so hard with this guitar, which is why I'm telling you that it hurts me to make a video like this. But like a woman who steals my heart with a sudden blaze of fire and passion, that flame died faster.
I hope you saw that he put Courtney LaPlante there, right? When he said Strandberg stole his heart, or did that comparison.
Which is why I'm telling you that it hurts me to make a video like this. But like a woman who steals my heart with a sudden blaze of fire and passion, that flame died faster than I could count to 10, and I am now bewildered by her persistent nagging and her incessant demands. But now I'm worn down by these persistent and apparently very prevalent issues that Strandberg guitars seem to bring with them everywhere they go. So I'm going to review this guitar and use that as a medium to foster this discussion. This is my Strandberg Bowden Metal NX6. Before we go any further,
And just for the sake of completeness, right? Just over there behind me, this is my Bowden Metal NX6. I have the same guitar in black, so I can relate to what he's about to say, I think, even more.
This includes the Japanese-made or the Swedish-made artisan models, those exclusive Super Gucci custom Strandberg.
You see, that's what I just explained to you. That's what I just explained to you 3 minutes ago. This is really about Strandberg's range of series, or like the guitars are manufactured at scale in Indonesia.
Yeah, they're out of the question. They are nice. So where am I getting my authority from to be so critical of this guitar? What gives me the right to speak on it the way that we're going to? I have praised, criticized, and outright mocked this company, all from an unbiased perspective, even calling them gay. I'm not partnered with any guitar store or music company, and I bought this with my own money on New Year's Day in 2025 at the Guitar Center in Atlanta for $2,100. So this is far.
I bought my Strandbergs on my own money as well, same like with all my equipment, just for the sake of completeness, right? This guy, same like me, we are both completely unbiased in what we're about to say and think and share, right? It's really important to me. There's nothing like an financial background to any of this. So let's continue.
Far from a 1 day or even a 1 month review. I have played this guitar a lot. This guitar makes it really easy to play more guitar. I have easily practiced and played more guitar in the past 10 months of owning this than in any full year of my life ever playing guitar, and I'm 21 years into this now. I was easily...
Same here. When I first started adapting Strandbergs, I switched to really play a lot, and that has also led to the beginning of this channel. Before I owned Strandbergs, I maybe was able to practice for an hour a day or something. Then my shoulder would start to hurt because of an accident some years ago. But with these guitars, due to how they feel and how they handle, I could always play, and did in fact play way more than before, and finally got a halfway proper guitarist again. So
be able to practice for 3 to 4 hours a day, and in many of those up to 6 to 8 without any pain or discomfort.
True.
I wrote and recorded a lot of Firelink music with this. I started my social...
All Night of the Void Rider music was written on Strandberg guitars.
Media with this. I covered every single Necrophages solo from Epitaph with this.
I don't like Necrophages, sorry mate.
And then did it all in one take. If you're familiar with that album, you'll know that that means I had to spend a lot of very intimate time with this instrument. And on top of that, I've had hundreds of comments and messages from other people sharing their experiences with Strandberg. And my mom...
Even like that even happened to me. Like, I've been contacted a few times, asked about my opinions and experiences, and people would openly start sharing their experiences after I, for example, showed up on Reddit or and wrote comments on Instagram, and people would randomly visit my profile and see me playing Strandbergs in some of the reels and whatnot, right? So these people are talkative and they want to talk about their experiences, which is basically what he says, because there's a certain pressure in the community.
Mom has told me that she thinks I'm on the spectrum, so I do a lot of research and I take the details very seriously. So those are my qualifications for reviewing this guitar and commenting on Strandberg as a company at whole. Let's start the review. Let's go tip to butt, starting with the lack of a headstock and the...
Yeah, and I hope I got across that I have my fair share of experience with that brand as well as a guitar player, even though I don't play Necrophagist solos.
Only hole that a Strandberg player will ever get to be intimate with in their entire life. Access to the truss rod is always open, always available. You don't have to take it out to dinner first. It's never gonna have a headache. It's always easy to get up in there and do what you need to do. And I like the string locking mechanism a lot. You just have one thing to unscrew and then you thread the string through there, and you can see that you're ideally supposed to be able to lay the pliers flush up against it and clip off any excess string. Back in the day, the Strandbergs used to cut off at a 90-degree angle right there and leave a lot of string sticking out where you can easily, poke yourself and bleed. But on this one, you can get a little bit closer, although you can see it's still not perfect. I don't think it works that well, but I have personally never stabbed myself up there or drawn blood yet. Simple and...
Same for me. But I have, in fact, to say that I'm always a bit scared getting too close with my pliers because I know these surfaces are easily scratched. So I'm always super careful when I cut off the string ends.
And intuitive like any other locking tuner mechanism. It works great. I like it. And the nut on mine is cut extremely well. I think it's molded plastic, but the string spacing is fine. However, I will say that it is ever so slightly poking out on the bass side, although it's something that you can't even feel when you run your hand up and down. And the nut coupled with the completely straight string pull into the bridge gives this guitar exceptional tuning stability. It is just
True.
as good as my core model PRS and my Kiesel. And then we've got a 0 fret up there, which is going to help you.
Except when it doesn't work that way, right? Eike, enjoy your evening, man. Basically, what we just covered was how or what just happened earlier when I tuned this guitar was that a bit of slippage happened regarding the G string, right? What he says is usually true. These guitars are very stable, and even after shipping them from Sweden to Germany and getting them out of the shipping box, they were usually in tune.
Set up low action. It's important to note that this is made of hardened stainless steel. However, this is our first point of contention. Having stainless steel frets on a guitar essentially translates to, I'm not going to have to refret this thing, it's going to last multiple lifetimes. And while that may be true for most good quality stainless steel frets, that is not true for a stainless steel 0 fret. And that's because
basically Strandberg uses jazz carved frets, which are among the most common and high quality ones in the game. And what he's just about to explain, let's explain him first.
Because the strings are constantly applying pressure against that fret, which makes it where that fret will in fact wear down, usually within 2 to 5 years, sometimes quicker for some players. And whenever it does wear down, you are going to get an annoying plinking sound up there whenever you are doing bends. And because it's stainless steel, it's going to be a bigger pain to work on. A lot of people...
Yeah, what I started, the 0 fret is this very first fret here in the fretboard. You see that this guitar basically has a nut made from plastic, and then a 0 fret where all the strings rest upon. That is this one here, right? And what he basically explained is that there's constant pressure on the 0 fret, contrary to the other frets, right? The strings are higher than these, but on the 0 fret there's constant pressure, and so there's going to be dents after a while. Most of the time, or usually when I change strings, I take a bit of steel wool and buff them out. That usually works. It's just extra maintenance effort that is basically hard to research and that most Strandberg players or owners don't really like to talk about. It's one of the hidden maintenance efforts you have to do. Yeah, it's kind of a double nut, but as I said, the plastic nut is really just to align the strings coming from the headstock, non-existing headstock, but it's really about string alignment. And then that 0 fret is so that you can have that very, very straight neck and straight string setup.
People want to know about this weird, goofy looking trapezoidal neck, and it is extremely comfortable. It operates exactly as it's advertised, in my opinion, which is that it's supposed to naturally guide your thumb along that asymmetrical flat part right there. And I feel like this guitar encourages me to press more straight down on the fretboard as opposed to coming at it at like a curved angle, kind of like that. And I think that's also assisted by the very flat 20-inch fretboard radius, but more on that in a second. The last thing
Absolutely true. I want to say something about that. So what Strandbergs really brought to my life as a guitar player is a way better hand posture. Wait. I have to switch back to my Ableton session for a second, so the sound isn't that effect savvy. I used to play a lot like that. Not necessarily on 7th string, but I usually would play something like... I don't know, it feels really unnatural, but I would often let my thumb poke out or play like that. That kind of weird hand posture I would often have, right? After a few years of playing Strandbergs, I started but using my left hand way better, improving the posture. And now let me switch to a cleaner sound. I can easily play chords like that require my fingers to be really independent and cleanly. this kind of, or my hand posture really got better. And now, I have to admit, I really noticed that when I switched to my RST. This has a normal neck profile, and it completely works. This was like the best left hand training that I could imagine, is what the Strandberg really was for me in the end as well. I made the progress I made as a guitar player is lots and lots related to my better hand posture and spending more time practicing, obviously. But that's the singular best thing about Strandberg for me, is that neck profile and the way it guides you into a really sustainable and playable position. I mean, you see that I'm like having the guitar in that weird 45-degree angle, and the combination of both really allows me to play for longer times on stream, off stream, whatsoever, right? And that works with my new guitar as well, but that's really something that Strandberg brought into my life. And my personal take, it works best with 7 strings. I like my 6-string Strandbergs, but the 7-string version, that's also something Ola said in the interview we did during Guitar Summit, but he said 7 strings are the sweet spot, and he originally developed the neck profile for 7 strings. So let's continue.
I want to mention about the Endure neck is that it's overall very, very, very small. I feel like you can do thumb over Jimi Hendrix chords for days on this kind of guitar. It's extremely easy to get your thumb all the way over there to the D string even. So if you're wondering if this is a big or a small neck, it feels tiny in my opinion. Now this is a 20-inch fretboard radius, which is how flat or round this fretboard is. And in this case, it's extremely flat. This is similar to classical guitars, which also have a 20-inch or less radius. And for reference, this is a PRS, which has a 10-inch radius, and you can kind of see that there's a curve to it. Now my only experience playing a 20-inch fretboard radius before was on the Tim Henson signature nylon guitar. The flatter fretboard radius was immediately noticeable, and it was coupled with the nylon guitar having a wider nut width, which lends to an easier finger style playing where you can be more accurate and less clumped up. But that wider
Basically what I just said, what already a Strandberg does for me, right? That kind of like, I would say easy grip, easy access, easy. That kind of chords would have driven me crazy a few years back. It's really also about how comfortable this guitar is to play, but the neck profile, just as he explains, the singular best feature for me about Strandberg.
wider nut width is what made it feel so much more foreign to me than the actual flatter radius. I thought it was the other way around, but once I got my hands on this guitar, I realized it's actually not the flat fretboard radius that was the weird oddity that I felt, it was the wider nut width. So this all goes to say that when you're looking at guitar specs, you need to consider everything as a whole, and even within then, there's so many different modern C profiles. There's so many different compound radius. Where does like the compound gradient start or end? When you look at multi-scale guitars, where's the parallel fret? Is it going to be even at the 10th fret or the 12th fret or 7th fret? Whatever. All of these things come into play. You can't just look at one spec and immediately write off the guitar. And some people have asked me if this guitar reduces...
It's always about context and seeing these specs in context with each other. That's also part of why my first contact with Ormsby guitars was so mixed bag of feelings, because I just touched guitars of theirs that had very extreme specs, very extreme fan frets or multi-scales, etc.
Is pain in your hands and fingers? And the answer is yes. I believe that the flat fretboard radius in the neck profile, allowing you to get over and onto the fretboard at more of a straight up and down angle, applies less pressure to your fingers and puts your wrist in a more natural or at least optimal position. I couldn't agree more. I have less fingers and wrist strain and aches when I'm playing this guitar than my other guitars. Sorry to have cut that in at such an awkward angle. So this is all to say that I think you might really enjoy the 20-inch flat fretboard radius, because coupled with the Endure neck and the normal electric guitar nut width, I think it's extremely comfortable for every single style of playing that I have ever tried on this, from blues to some gypsy jazz to the metal. And I'll also add that the fretboard edges aren't quite rolled, but they're not sharp. And the more that I have played this guitar, the more it's smoothed out. It's gotten significantly more comfortable when I first acquired this guitar. And by the way, this was a used guitar. I don't think it was used very much. And the fretwork on this guitar is extremely good. The polishing was perfect, and the fretboard leveling and the fretboard edges are pristine. There's no fret sprout, there's no uneven frets. I take that back.
I wanted to jump in and say the same. I had some challenges with leveled frets on my red 8-string Strandberg, and on this particular guitar, which has a classical, but which actually has a wood fretboard, there's a certain amount of fret sprout noticeable. It's of course different with the Ridgelight fretboard, so with the other guitars, but here on this guitar, there's a bit of noticeable fret sprout, and that annoys the freaking heck out of me. So I fix that every now and then, or maybe once a year. I did that.
I do have a dead fret that was introduced on the G string a couple weeks ago when I made some adjustments to my action. And before you leave a comment about that, just wait, we are going to get to that, I promise. For now, take my word that the fretwork is extremely well done. However, something about the way that the edges roll off on the treble side makes it where this high E string will fall off more times than you'll ever experience on any guitar in your lifetime. And this is an extremely common issue that has been reported, and many of those people feel like they're alone, and you are not alone. I am here for you. I love you, and we're suffering together. This is a
I had that challenge as well. It got bad, or on this particular guitar, it's never that bad actually. But when I first got my Proc NX6, there I had the same challenge, and for whatever reason, I had to realign the trem a bit when I did my first string change or something. It moved a bit better into position, I guess. But initially, when I bought that guitar and first tested it, I constantly that movement happened quite a lot to me, but that really got better due to my hand posture, I guess, and because that thingy, that setup issue, I think it was a setup issue, at least on my Proc NX6, went away after I did my first own setup and changed the strings and whatnot. But I have to be honest, compared to my Aristides, the whole string alignment is way cleaner and way better there. So yeah, it's really pretty close to the lower edge of the fretboard, but it's okay for my personal playing style. It's okay. Yeah. Let's continue.
Very common issue that Strandberg has. Some speculate it is those frets, some speculate it's how the neck is wedged in there. But yeah, even when you run your hand up like this on the treble side, you can feel it's sharply rolled. It feels very steep. It doesn't like stab and poke you, but it's there. It's sharp at the top. It's not very round. So again, it's kind of hard to say, but the fretwork is really good. There's just some oddities. So now let's talk about the handshake on this guitar, which is extremely good. It's very comfortable. It's got a very nice design down here. It does look like it comes up very high and that upper fret access would be difficult, but the thing is that this part is so thin right there that you can get your thumb up there and it's super easy. So hitting all 24 frets on all 6 strings is very easy. I had no problem doing the necrophages solos on it.
Yeah, and especially in that something, in some kind of education. What? A guitar player, this kind of setup. I personally think a guitar player should be able to set up their own guitar according to their liking. But there's like things that I wouldn't recommend beginners to do themselves, like not leveling frets. I wouldn't do that, but let's say buff up the edges of the fretboard and get rid of fret sprout. That's something that I did occasionally, or buff up the 0 fret. That's little maintenance stuff where I personally feel that should be doable for most people. Yeah. What did he just say?
There's no interference. That's very easy.
Yeah, what I wanted to add, something that really astonished me when I first started playing Strandberg guitars was the intonation is better. And so this whole area around here became way more interesting due to the hand posture. And I really noticed the better accessibility already here. It's really, the accessibility is crazy good, just as he said, right? But for me, it's really also about chordal opportunities up here. That just feels beautiful to play, to be honest, that kind of stuff, because it's so easy to reach these points on the fretboard. Something that always alienates me when I pick up my Ibanez AZ, for example. That feels just a bit too clunky around there.
I had no problem doing the necrophages solos on it. There's no interference. This little horn right here there is no horn. It just goes out of the way. There's nothing to block
you
your
don't
hand.
notice
It's
it.
very comfortable. You can hit every fret easily. Let's talk about the best part of the guitar, which is the puzzle piece body shape. This body design is extremely ergonomic.
For him, the best part, for me, the second best part, as I said, the neck profile is the singular best thing for me personally.
And we're going to start with the top, which has this nice little forearm bevel right there. It's absolutely perfect. It's not too aggressive. It's not unnoticeable like a Telecaster. It's Goldilocks just right. And this little cutout right here makes it where you can put it right here and it balances very comfortably. Having a strap will make it sit perfectly. You can put it right here, and this is extremely comfortable.
Take a look. That's a version of how I personally hang out with my Strandbergs.
You can play in bed like that. You can sit and
maybe more like that.
You can whatever you want. Putting it in classical position is extremely comfortable. If you have like a foot stand, mine is in a different room. Or you can even put it right here and put the prop right here in cowboy position. It is extremely comfortable however you want to play this guitar. And the same thing goes for standing. And because of that, this allows you to play this guitar in more places than you can play other guitars, which allows you to just play more guitar. Coupled with all the other stuff we've talked about, it just...
Sometimes I walk around the house, Strandberg guitar on my strap, because it never gets in the way. So I just walk around the house playing stuff. Just yesterday I did that, and I don't know, that was just big fun. I don't know, man. Sometimes I'm just walking around the house riffing and the cat's looking stupid at me. So this guitar, all Strandbergs, comfortable, that body shape, amazing, the neck shape, for me personally, even better. Very true there.
Is very comfortable. There's a very nice and generous belly cut right there, and you can see the nice cutaway right there on the heel joint. You're not going to have any problem hitting the upper frets on this guitar. It is buttery smooth and easy. And I know a lot of companies have adapted to where they have like some little piece of wood that pokes out right there so the hardware can't poke into your leg like that. But in all honesty, in all practical use, I've never really dealt with that as an issue. Just put it like that.
Me neither.
Put it like that. You don't put it like that, and you don't put it like that. And this model has the chambered body, which makes it very nice and lightweight. And if you want to know a little bit more about which models will have the chambered body or not, you can go watch my video that I did called the Strandberg Theory, where I talk about a lot of things, but I go over the differences among the models from the Essentials lineup to the Standard to the Original in super nerdy, autistic fashion. And the electronics are in the perfect position where your hand is never going to bump into them when you are picking. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you're never going to accidentally roll off the volume knob, and you're never accidentally going to change the pickup. But it's also in a really good spot where you can do volume swells if you want, and where you can change between pickups in the middle of a solo. And all Strandbergs are going to give you a wide array of tonal versatilities. At minimum, you're going to get a 5-way selector, which is what this one has, and these pickups are the Sir Aldrich pickups. And I want to talk about the electronic wiring that Strandberg did, because every position is unique and usable and actually sounds extremely freaking good.
Very
so
true.
In the bottom position, I don't know if this is considered 5 or 1, we have the bridge humbucker. And then if we go to position 2, we get the split inner coils, which sounds kind of like a Strat, kind of like the 4th position. And then if you go to
One of my most favorite sounds on my 6-string Strandberg guitars.
The middle position, which normally gives you both humbuckers, we are instead getting the outer neck humbucker and the outer bridge humbucker, which gives it a really cool Telecaster quacking sound. If we
Quack,
go to
quack.
position 4, we are getting the outer neck coil, which sounds like a neck strat coil. Very, very close, I must say. And then if we go all the way up to position 5, we're of course getting the neck humbucker by itself. These pickups and the wiring is one of the best things about this guitar. Oh, and we get to the logo, which is a wonderful feature. It's a sticker that you get, and we're going to definitely talk about that later because this is kind of a nice little metaphor for Strandberg as a whole. And then we've got the bridge, which is a source of many of the complaints centered around these guitars. They are very difficult to set up. Setting the string height and the intonation is a pain in the butt, and simple string change.
String height, not that much, but the intonation is a real pain in the butt. Also, for me personally,
For many people, are very frustrating. It feels like a cheap piece of hardware, and setting the intonation and the string height is a pain. Those tiny little screws will often strip or break entirely. To be clear, it is both an inefficient system and a system made of cheap components. It feels cheap, and it sucks to set this guitar up. Now, as I mentioned, you have this.
yeah, it's. I think they always say it's aircraft grade aluminium, but now that I shouldn't dive too deep into comparisons, right? But my Aristides guitar has hang tug hardware, and that feels entirely different. So much more solid, and the metal here on the Strandberg always feels a bit not wobbly. It's still strong, but it feels thin in a way. I don't know how to best describe it. It's not flimsy or something, but just as he said, there's a certain chance that you're gonna strip some of the screws. There's like this whole Teflon washer thingy that you have to put in between the tuning mechanic and the tuning pack. And if you lose that, you're basically screwed. They are sold out most of the time on the Strandberg website. So I did port a few replacement parts and accessories for my Strandbergs. I basically have a small, it's not a warehouse, I'd like to call that, but I have a part of my guitar related things where I just keep thingies for my Strandbergs that I bought from their online shop when they've been available, like the little metal discs that you put into these string lock mechanisms or the Teflon washers. And that's personally for someone, I mean, Stivarius said he's on the spectrum earlier in the video. I'm not on the spectrum, I think, but I tend to worry a lot about stupid things. So for me, it's really a thing to always stock up on certain replacement parts for my Strandbergs, just because I love to play them so much, and I don't want to sit here on a stormy Sunday morning not being able to do a string change and maybe replace a tuning mechanism or something. So I have multiple tuning mechanisms at hand. I have like replacement parts for the entirety of the string lock mechanism, and I don't do that for any other guitar. It's just my way of telling you how I personally feel about the Strandberg hardware. It's better to stock up on replacement parts. I'm on the. Oh yeah, you think because my high sensitivity? Yeah, so maybe I'm on the spectrum as well. Different spectrum. Yeah, true. Bald tattoo-headed Viking. Yeah. Hi Nihilum. Nice that you're checking in, man. We're reacting to a video about my favorite guitar brand, and I kind of want to loop in why I ended up buying a different brand after 4 of their guitars. So, yeah. Let's continue.
Really nice straight string pull, which is the only thing straight about a Strandberg, which I think aids in the wonderful, fantastic tuning stability of this guitar, coupled with the very well cut nut. Again, I keep stressing this because it is such a wonderful feature of this guitar. Unless I'm recording or tracking something, I do not even bother tuning this thing. And I personally love these tuners. I think that they turn really well. I don't mind string changes on this guitar at all. I don't feel like it's any different or slower or more frustrating than any regular guitar. Once you do it the first time,
it's quicker for me, but I need the feeling that I'm properly prepared and am on stock on replacement parts.
Kind of like riding a bike, and it just gets easier each time and you never really forget. There are plenty of videos with better cinematography that'll show you how to change the strings and set the action and intonation imagination than I could. So even though the bridge is cheap, I really like it. I like the straight string pull, and I like having fine tuners. I like these little barrel style things.
Yeah,
Maybe that's because
same here.
I played cello when I was a kid and they had fine tuners. But
Uh,
I like
I,
this bridge, and I think I would even enjoy it on a regular guitar with a headstock. And this guitar has the best lumen lay dots I have ever seen on any guitar. I love how it
true.
actually shines on the fretboard too. I know Strandberg's not the only company to do that, but this guitar seems to light up far more than my Kiesel does, which obviously also has lumen lays. And finally, we get the output jack, which has fallen off many times for me, even after having cranked it down with a wrench. I should probably just blue Loctite it, but
I have the very same challenge. So whenever I pull out the cable on a Strandberg guitar, I pull it out and I readjust that screw thingy every time. I just got used to that to a point where I'm just like, yeah, okay, that's part of the process of putting that guitar away for a minute or something. Because I was that annoyed. On my Metal NX6, it fell off like 3 or 4 times. On that one, it happened twice. On my Proc, it happened once. And then I just, ended up getting used to always ensuring that it's tightened enough. Yeah, I cuddle my guitar, and that's, that's what we are here for, man.
I don't really think that you should have to do that on a
Oh,
$2,200 guitar. So that's the specs and a little bit about the feel of this guitar. But what's the actual problem here? Well, it's not the specs. It's something that you can't measure on a piece of paper. It is the feel, the fit and finish, the quality craftsmanship, the execution, and the fact that they're asking for $2,100 to $2,600 for a guitar that feels like it cost $800, or is often beat out in quality craftsmanship by a Squire. The quality is fine for the budget essentials lineup, but the problem is that that quality is not increased when you go from that to the NX model, to the original lineup, or to the
yeah.
Pliny signature model. All of these guitars feel the same in terms of quality craftsmanship, and that is the problem here. What are we getting for our money? Are we just
I need to stop here for a second because that's actually one of the big points that got me into buying an Aristides. So what happened at Guitar Summit was I touched a Strandberg Essential for the first time. I touched a Bowden N2 series for the first time, played them both. And before that happened, I touched Harper's guitars and actually felt the guitar at a similar price tag. The one that I played was, I think, $2,800, the Harper's guitars thing. And it just felt so different in terms of craftsmanship, in terms of attention to detail, etc., etc. I feel this so much. Buying a Strandberg is really a mixed bag of emotions for me because these are incredible guitars with lots of features that mean the world to me, just as I explained earlier. Body shape, neck shape, how I can keep on playing this thing for hours and hours and keep on writing and writing my stories and do things here on Twitch and YouTube. As I said initially, I've never been seen without with a different guitar than my Strandbergs. And up until last week, until I got my Aristides, that one started showing up obviously as well. But besides that, I really love this company out of my own pocket, I have to say. I love them dearly out of my own pocket. But what he just said, there's no noticeable quality difference between their entry level lineup and their signature series lineup. So I haven't played a Per Nilsson Singularity, for example. I haven't touched that one, but I know it's made in the same Indonesian factory. It's sitting next to Essentials when it's being manufactured, and that's totally not a problem, but there's no noticeable gap. But there was a noticeable gap in quality and attention to detail when I played that Harper's guitar. There was even on a similar level when I played Aristides and really realized that these instruments are built with so much attention to detail that it just okay. Taking a step back, going back to my metaphor that I just started. Buying a Strandberg is a mixed bag of emotions. It's a cool guitar. It has outstanding features, but there's always some rocky bumps along the road that you will discover during your first weeks and months with the guitar. May it be your string slipping off, may it be like little defects in the fit and finish, maybe. For me, I had to resolder one particular joint, like in the back of this guitar. It's always the little things, but there's a clear, noticeable quality gap between what I can buy at Strandberg for 2,700 bucks euros, or invest more, but get a guitar that was really built with more attention to detail and more, um, really, I would say, passion and involvement. There's a major difference if a guitar company puts out 500 guitars a year, 5,000 or 50,000. And that's something that needs to be put into context in this whole discussion. And in that regard, Strandberg is more on the, I would say, I would assume more on the 5 to 50,000 K instruments a year range, not like a small shop like Aristides or Harpers or something. But let's continue.
Paying you to upgrade the pickups, to just install and solder something? Are we just paying you for a chambered body that on the 7 and 8 string often introduces neck dive, might I add? Why are we getting the same bridge on the Budget Essentials lineup as the NX lineup? What is being upgraded here? And then you have the audacity to go and release the N2 lineup and go from carbon reinforcements to titanium reinforcements, as if anyone cares about that. And you go from Fishman's Moderns to these Fishman powered by Strandberg pickups, as if anyone cared or asked for that. And you talk about the curved body top. Look at this, dude. This is already curved body top. What are you talking about on this new N2 lineup? If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my last video, The Strandberg Theory. But these upgrades were menial and no one asked for them, and you're charging an extra $100, and you're definitely going to phase out the non-N2 lineups and leave it to where we are in a position where we can either buy the Budget Essentials lineup or pay more than double that for something that amounts to essentially pickup swaps and a multi-scale design that's introduced that doesn't really actually make a difference in terms of the playability or comfort here.
From my perspective, it makes a slight difference in terms of intonation, at least for me personally, but I couldn't agree more here. As he just said, you could basically, or that's something that happens quite a lot in the Strandberg community recently, you can basically buy an essential and tune that with aftermarket pickups. There's lots of people putting crazy things like bare knuckle, something, bare knuckle, raining death, 666 pickups into their essentials and having a blast of a time with a guitar that's basically manufactured next to these assumingly higher spec models, and the updated spec doesn't really give that away. We always have to assume that a company like Strandberg gets a better deal from Fishman when they buy their OEM pickups or buy their pickups compared to me buying them aftermarket. So even assuming full price for things like the pickup upgrade or the upgrade electronics, doesn't really justify that huge price difference if there isn't a noticeable difference in how these instruments are fitted, finished, and the aftercare is done. That just doesn't work for me, and that really was debunked with the Aristides from. But more on that in a second. Let's first continue with Stivarius and what he has to say.
This quality on this guitar should not feel like it's worse than this. It's worse than this $800 Squire. And guess what? This
what Bildfuchsig just said, because especially with the Essential lineup, you already get a neck shape. You can get that learning experience of leveraging that to correct your left hand posture and to really make improvements to your playings. And if you don't like the OEM pickups in there, just slap in some bare knuckle somethings, right? And these are the Rev 7 tuners from Strandberg. The new N2 is basically built with the same hardware they developed for the Essential lineup. So even if you buy the more expensive guitar right now, you get the cheaper, objectively cheaper zinc-based approach. It's a bit of a wild ride. And just as he said, to sum it up, there is no justifiable, the price difference isn't justifiable in terms of build quality, in terms of, just upgraded pickups. Because we always have to assume Strandberg has good deals going on with Sir, with Fishman, with all these supplier companies. They don't pay full price if they buy a set Fishman, Modern, blah, blah. Not as if I go to Thomann and buy them. Yeah. No, it doesn't have the curved top, but it has the same body shape.
This guitar right here cost the same, it cost more actually than a stripped down bare bones Kiesel that has no upgrades. And so why would you ever spend your money on this when you can get a guitar for $1,800 like this Aries right here, or like a headless Vader? And if you don't upgrade it, if you can control yourself and you don't blow your wallet on it, you will get a guitar built from a custom shop that builds the $5,000 K custom models, and just the $4,000 and $5,000 models where people go ham on the upgrades. They're giving you the same quality craftsmanship on a stripped down bare bones Kiesel.
So he's been sharing that story from the Kiesel perspective. Let me share that story from the Aristides perspective, because the base model, the base headless model, starts at around a similar price to where the higher spec Strandbergs are. And there's even more expensive Strandberg guitars than my quite high spec Aristides guitar. These are manufactured completely different and with so much more love and care, just as what he said about Kiesel. You spend a bit more, but the noticeable difference in quality and craftsmanship is just astonishing. And this chambered body that I really dig because of the responsiveness and the reduced weight, right? I don't have that on my Aristides. I don't need it. Just control yourself. A baseline Aristides H6 starts at around $2,700. So basically where this guitar has originally been sitting, and cheaper than the Strandberg Pliny models. And it's a way different thing.
Just like the PRS S2 lineup is built by the same people in the same Maryland factory that build the PRS Core lineup, you're just not getting the super fancy top woods. Even now, you're getting the same pickups, but this guitar is $4,500, while the S2 is only $2,000, but it feels the same. I have played them in stores. They feel like they're built by the same people.
I'm not into PRS guitars, so can't comment on that one.
But with Strandberg, you don't get any of that when you go from the budget line to the NX line or to the N2 line or whatever it may be. You are just getting a pickup swap for the most part. You're getting the chambered body, which honestly doesn't matter. The body design is already good and ergonomic enough. This multi-scale design, it's cool. I like it personally, but it's 25 inches to 25 and a half. That is tiny. That doesn't matter. That doesn't make a single bit of a difference. And on the Budget Essentials line, you don't have the 0 fret, so it might even be better in that regard.
Yeah, so there's even an improvement in maintainability if you go for the Essentials lineup. Just as he said, no 0 fret. Like on my Aristides, no 0 fret, no worries. There was a phase in my life where I said things like, no 0 fret, no cry. And I was that serious about that because I was always stressed out to check if there were going to be bumps in my 0 fret, if I would need to polish that ever up.
You don't have to deal with changing that hardened stainless steel fret. That's a pain in the butt on tools, and your luthier is going to be pissed at you when you have to do that. You don't have to do that on the cheaper model. So my theory that I told you is that all of these guitars are built by the same people doing the same thing, just with different pickups or with a hollowed out body or with a slanted fretboard.
Yeah.
That's all that you're getting is upgraded specs. No upgraded attention to detail. And I have hundreds of comments of people who have experienced this exact same thing. People telling me that the Pliny model feels cheap, the $3,000 Pliny model. And this obviously doesn't include the one-off J Custom and Artisan models. Those feel amazing. People have reported that those feel exactly like a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 guitar should feel, like a hand-built, finely quality crafted instrument. This does not feel like a $2,200 guitar. This does not feel as good as an Ibanez Prestige. This does not feel as well built as my $1,900 BC Rich Shredzilla import. The BC Rich has finer quality craftsmanship on it than this. And you might be saying to me, well, you're just paying for the design. You're just paying for the R&D when it comes to Strandberg. And that's true, but you shouldn't pay this much. You should just buy the Budget Essentials lineup and swap to whatever pickups you want and ignore every single other thing from Strandberg. That is the point of this video. They need to upgrade their quality control, not swap from carbon fiber reinforcement to titanium reinforcement or Fishman Moderns to Fishman powered by Strandberg. It's cool, I guess, but that's not what people want or need. Upgrade the quality. Apparently you're aware of this. this hurts me to make this rant. It finally came out. It finally came out in this rant. And I'm not
Yeah,
going to edit
yeah,
any part of this video because I want this to be raw. I want you to see my emotions here. I love this guitar, but it just has frustrated me so much where I finally have gone from telling people to buy the most expensive model you can get, the most expensive model that you can afford because you're going to be that happy. No, don't do that. Get the cheapest model that you can afford and swap pickups. And you
yeah,
still should get a
yeah.
Strandberg. I'm still telling you to do that. You shouldn't get the other headless guitar models of the similar price bracket. I don't know about the Hills, but the Ibanez Quest, I would get this instead. I don't know about some of the headless Legators, but I would get this instead.
Okay, then I need to jump in here briefly and share a few of my perspectives on what he just said. Or let's say I want to share a part of my story of what happened at Guitar Summit. I told you I first interviewed Harper's Guitar, started with them, then had the honor, and I really mean that, of interviewing Ola Strandberg about the N2. And that really meant a ton to me. I'm gonna make myself a bit bigger now that I start talking a bit more. That interview with Ola, for me as a Strandberg fanboy, as I told you, I own 4 of these guitars, all paid full price. One was used, but in mint condition, and I dearly love them. Everything I can do on guitar right now, I basically own to them because I just got my ass up and started practicing again when I bought my first Strandberg and felt like, wow, this is a fucking insanely good guitar and exactly the kind of guitar I want to be playing right now. This is how I got started and how I really fell in love with Strandberg. And for the most time, they meant so much to me. And I've been convinced. I touched lots of cool guitars. I touched Sirs. I touched lots of Fenders, modern stuff, Music Mans, blah, blah, blah. Of course, Music Man JP15 feels entirely different again, but that's a different story, a different price tag, blah, blah, blah. I was convinced that what I was paying for my Metal NX6, for my Metal NX8, for my Prog, that these were wonderful guitars for a good price point because I didn't know better. Then what happened at Guitar Summit? I show up at Harper's. I touch a guitar for just below 3K. Perfectly set up, ever-tuned bridges, perfectly worked on necks, perfectly, like with so much passion that was noticeable in the instrument, exactly the kind of quality, the kind of outstanding craftsmanship that Strandberg is missing, but they are still asking for a similar price tag. As I said, my Strandberg Metal NX8 was 2,800 euros when I bought it earlier this year in March, almost 3K. And you take that money, go to Harper's Guitars, you can get a guitar built to your own liking. You can get a baseline RST, you can get so many things that are not manufactured, that were not manufactured in Indonesia. And I don't want to talk shit on these companies or factories. I really don't want to. I love my Strandbergs, but the price tag isn't justified. It's, you know, what I invested into this guitar, I feel and hear that in every single note that I'm playing. Everything about this guitar is perfect, is flawless. The more I discover this guitar, the more I get used to it, the more I would usually end up finding the not so sweet spots. There's none. And even if there would be, I know I could give Pascal a phone call and tell him, mate, there's something wrong with the guitar that I bought from you. And he would say, jump into your car, come to Harlem, we'll fix that for you. Because what he told me when I visited them, that's the video, the Aristides video I announced, was basically, we don't believe in warranty because a warranty is a fairly easy way out for a manufacturer after a few years to, not feel responsible for the product anymore. So there's nothing like a warranty on Aristides guitars besides send it in, contact them, they'll support you. They take over real liability and interest in making you happy with that instrument. That was exactly what I experienced there. And yeah, so the moment that my heart broke, I could show you that moment in that Harper's video that I did, but when I first played on the Harpers and heard that even sustain and felt how good it felt and realized it's just maybe $200 more expensive than the last Strandberg you bought. That broke my heart. It really broke my heart. I came there. I thought I was halfway informed. I thought my Strandbergs were pretty cool guitars, and they are, but you pay so much for not necessarily the brand name, but for the innovation that has happened, for that neck design, for the standing in the industry. You pay a lot for these things, whereas there's builders where you can go, like Stivarius just said, Kiesel guitars, get a bare bones Kiesel, get a reduced Aristides, and you get so much more guitar for a similar amount of money that it's fucking crazy. And I've been really struggling with that since Guitar Summit. I felt really heartbroken. There's been almost 2 weeks where I felt bad touching my most beloved guitars, and I really had to overcome that and not feel like an idiot anymore, to be honest with you. I felt like a pretty well-informed guy when I took the decisions to buy Strandberg guitars, and I still feel like that because of the neck, because they made me a better player and made me really enjoy guitar playing again. But still, there's this, I would say, in the Strandberg community, it's like a screamingly pink elephant in the room that no one really wants to address besides Stivarius, who did that video. So I had to react to that and reached out to him and was like, mate, maybe let me add my boring German perspective on things, because I've been heartbroken since Guitar Summit, and I've bought an Aristides since after buying 4 Strandberg guitars, and it's so different. Everything that's maybe a bit half-hearted about my Strandberg guitars, about my blue guitar that I just had with me all the time, it's in here, but done right and done with so much more intent and player in mind and love for detail. This scale length doesn't start at 25 inch. It starts at 25.7 and goes up to 27 inches. So I can have this really clearly defined low note, and on my 7-string Strandberg, that's just going up to 26 and a half. And half that inch really makes a difference here for me in terms of intonation and being able to use decent strings and not going crazy. And just everything that kind of annoys me about my Strandberg guitars is done right here. And I feel bad saying that, but I played these guitars so much. They really taught me how to properly position my hand, and I got so much out of them. But I'm happy to be here, and I feel so much more at home on this guitar already, and that's really alienating me because, as I told you, Strandberg was my first really, really, really big love in guitars since I discovered Ibanez when I was like 14 years old, 15 years old. I basically discovered an Ibanez guitar in a guitar magazine in the late 90s, and I fell in love with Ibanez. And I don't know, man, but then Strandberg and now this whole thing here really means a lot to me, and I feel kinda bad about my not I don't feel bad about my Strandberg per time, but I feel bad about being so biased and so blind towards certain things that just were a tad bit wrong from my perspective, like that whole quality gap. Like, I don't know, man, but seeing the Strandberg Essential bridge on the Bowden N2 was such a weird feeling, and Ola explained that to me before that, of course, but then, you know, I play that guitar, I play that N2, and one of the cool things I discovered, it had that rechargeable battery backplate. Turns out that's a paid upgrade that they will be releasing later. At least that's what someone told me then. And I had to put that as a comment under my YouTube video. So yeah, really my love slowed down a bit, and I'm asking questions, and I really would like to see more Strandberg enthusiasts becoming more than enthusiasts and actual players again. And let's openly discuss this. Maybe let's find fixes for certain things together. I don't know. How do you treat your zero frets? What's your best practice? How do you go along stocking up on replacement parts? I told you how much I tend to fear anxiety, and the anxiety of not being able to properly maintain my Strandberg has been a real thing. As I said, I've been hoarding on replacement parts. That's been real stress for me, to be honest. And yeah, let's talk more openly about that. Let's still be enthusiastic about Strandberg, but let's be real guitar players again. But because since I acquired this, I'm so much more relaxed whenever I pick up my guitar. I'm not worrying that anything bad might happen because I know Pascal from years.This got my back. This guitar is way more stable. It feels completely different, alien from everything I touched before. And there's just not this big pink elephant in the room that lets me doubt myself, because I, in a way, I could have replaced my metal NX6 for less money by buying a Strandberg Essential, getting rid of the zero fret and just putting some more aggressive pickups in there. And that's a thought that kept me up at night after Guitar Summit. After there was this moment sometime on Guitar Summit, Harper's guitars, Strandberg guitars, years.This guitars. I touched my first years.This headless guitar. You can even see that in the video, but it fully broke my heart, because this guitar is so resonant. It's basically what I imagined the chambered body to sound like, in a way. Of course, it's comparing apples to carrots. I don't know, some other vegetable or fruit. But this guitar, after a week, and that's why I've been staying kind of silent up until I showed up and streamed today, and we wrote that jam earlier and whatnot. But this guitar really has become my home already in so many ways, and I'm pretty emotional about that. It even feels more comfortable by now. It has a slightly bigger body shape. It has a stupidly easy accessible upper register, and everything I try to play on this guitar, when I fail playing it, I clearly notice it's about me as a player, not about the guitar. And I'm not waiting for any maintenance work to come up. I'm not readjusting the screw of my output jack. I'm not doing anything. I'm just playing the guitar, not thinking about the guitar most of the time, set aside how beautiful it looks. And here we have exactly that experience that Stivarius just mentioned, right? These edges feel perfect. There's not a single edge on this guitar, or not a single spot that doesn't feel perfect. Really, it's a huge word, but I want to remind you, it hasn't been that much more expensive than my last Strandberg. I'm not going into details here, but it was less than a quarter more expensive than my last Strandberg, and so that is crazy. We'll watch the last minute of the YouTube video in a second. I also have to wrap up the stream in a bit. But yeah, I just wanted to have my own personal rant segment, or where I basically tell a bit about how my heart really got broken during Guitar Summit, and how I started accepting that there is more out there. And let's be honest, I know this year, 2026, there's going to be not only this years.This guitar in my life, there's going to be a Harper's guitar in my life. I'm certain about that. I need one of their baritone guitars for my, let's say, darker sounds and darker desires. Yeah, that's a good word to phrase it, right? I want to have one of those badass Harper's Judge guitars, the offset shape. I want to make it really special together with Pavo, and I'm looking forward to that one. I want to get another years.This, and I'm gonna slim down my guitar collection, set aside that. I'm not gonna sell Strandbergs, but I'm gonna set them up in the best possible way, and never think about buying another Strandberg for the time given. Honestly, one of my plans for 2026 originally was getting my hands on a Strandberg Essential, so I could show that to you guys and basically show you the cheaper Strandberg option, the one with less entry barrier, let's say. I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to play and write music on this guitar for now. And now we'll watch the rest of the YouTube video, and yeah, as I said, I get pretty emotional by that. I don't feel cheated upon or anything. These were all my own decisions, but understanding the lack of quality gap. And I'm really complaining there, right? I want to receive a better made, better setup, better loved guitar by Strandberg when I pay almost 3K compared to when I get an essential. And so maybe the essentials on Summit felt a bit too good, the N2 felt a bit too cheap. The Harpers and Aristides felt way too good, obviously, but Guitar Summit and Strandberg really hasn't been a good combination for me, as it really leveled me out and was like a breaking window moment. Ever since then, my heart was broken. Wildfüchsig can testify that. On the way back from Summit, I couldn't stop talking about what I discovered there. There's like a guitar player ban before I touched these guitars at Summit, and there's a guitar player ban afterwards. And up until last week, when I picked up this Aristides from Harlem, I've been really butthurt by that. I didn't feel like playing guitar for quite a while, and that's not me usually. That's really not me. And so, yeah, um, this this is my new love. We will talk way more about her in the future, about her bare knuckle pickups, about the electronics, about everything that makes her special. For the moment, if you own a Strandberg, don't feel bad about it, but ensure you get the maximum out of it, and ensure that you take informed decisions, and ensure that in the mornings when you get your guitarist face up in the bathroom in front of the mirror, that you're not only an enthusiast but also a player, and that you have realistic demands for your instrument. Maybe it was stupid me, but in retrospect, I I just want to, pimp up my Strandbergs now and get them to a similar level like this baby is. It's wild. We need to see something here. I personally would want to see innovation again from Strandberg. Of course, Fishman, Powered, Strandbergs, that collaboration, really cool. And just as Ola promised during our interview, the in-between positions have been wild on that N2, but that's right now not enough for me, together with that carbon fiber versus Titan reinforced neck, to justify going for an N2. And I really wish I would have had a justification to buy an N2 and basically say, hey, another new Strandberg guitar. I would have loved that to happen after Guitar Summit, but I simply can't justify it right now. That I'm going to stop my rant for now. We'll watch the rest of the video. And yeah, yeah. Can't comment on that one. Or north of $2,000. Let's keep that in mind. It hurts me to react to this video. As you just witnessed, I became quite emotional myself. Oh, 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 sorry. Yeah, sorry. It's just him. It was just him talking more, and you heard him, but I'm gonna jump back. Anyways, it was just 20 seconds or so.
Combination of these specs that makes it such a wonderful guitar,
Sorry.
such a wonderful design, where it is worth it to pay $1,000 to get the Essentials lineup and experience a Strandberg. Even though the quality still might not even be as good as that Fender made in Mexico over there, you're paying for that design, and in that case, it's worth it. But is it worth it for $2,000 or even $1,500 for some of those like standards or whatever they call them? No, it's not. It hurts me to make this video. If you're
It hurts me to react to this video.
spending $2,000 on a guitar, definitely don't buy a Strandberg.
Yeah. I think $2,000 for a guitar is a fairly odd price range. There's weird selection there, but I would also invest that differently. If I would have 2,000 euros right now, I would save up a few hundreds more and get another Aristides or maybe order a Kiesel from abroad or something like that. It's just not justifiable given the quality. Of course, the features, just as he said, body shape, the neck profile, the flat fretboard. It's all amazing, but you can get that in the essential lineup and put your own pickups and basically love that guitar dearly and thoroughly with its ups and downs for a price that's way more acceptable than what I paid for my original NX and my Metal NX. And
Just like it's not one single spec that makes this guitar so wonderful to play, it isn't one single flaw or defect
yeah,
that soils the experience and frustrates me. It is the totality of the flaws and the overlooks in the design and the unwillingness for Strandberg to seemingly improve on their guitar in any meaningful way that is frustrating me. So, for that, I speak on behalf of hundreds, if not thousands, of Strandberg owners when I say that we want you, Ola, to upgrade the
1
quality
second
of
drummer.
these instruments and not the specs. We want these to feel as nice as other guitars in the $2,000 to $2,500 price range that you are now selling your guitars at. Or we're going to have to bribe Paul Reed Smith to build a headless PRS, which would probably give the man
Or you buy an Aristides guitar for a bit more.
a stroke if he heard that. I can't go on any longer with this rant or I'm just going to start talking in circles. So I will wrap it up with saying that since I have finished every Necrophagus solo in one take from Epitaph, I have not touched this guitar because I just don't want to deal with these problems. I don't want to deal with intonating this thing. I don't want to deal with possibly the neck being crooked and that's why this string keeps falling off. I don't want to deal with that happening every single time that I'm having a good take on a solo. I know it could be my technique, yeah, you're right, but why is every other Strandberg player experiencing this? I don't want to deal with this falling out on you at the last moment when you're ready to record, then you have to go and fix all that again and all. I don't want to deal with that, man. So I haven't been playing this guitar. I've been playing my PRS again. I've been playing my BC Rich 8 string. And it makes me really sad to say that. It really does. So, I don't know what more I can say about Strandberg. If you're still here, I really appreciate you being here. I'm new to this YouTube game and I'm looking to improve the quality of every video that I upload. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram where I post daily content, lots of shenanigans, guitar playing videos, lessons, commentaries, lots of goofing off too. And thank you so much for the support. This has been the most fulfilling and rewarding thing that I have ever done in my life. Sharing my thoughts with you, sharing my music with you, and please check out my band Firelink if you best want to know what my music is like.
Cheers. So, first of all, what he just said, I'm fairly new in that whole YouTube and Twitch game as well. We are live right now on Twitch and YouTube, but this is going to end up as a video on my YouTube account as well, apparently. For me, it was a similar challenge since I returned from Guitar Summit. I had somewhat of an issue picking up my Strandbergs after making this experience. My Metal NX6 over there is still waiting for a fresh setup, fresh strings. It needs to be intonated, and I'm shoving that task from week to week to week. I really would want to play it right now because I love these Sir pickups so much, but I just don't want to deal with that. So I usually end up doing that on stream because then I at least stay calm and don't become too pissed by the situation. Anyways, it's so much of a complex topic for me because Strandberg, on the one hand side, brought back the love for guitar playing and endured guitar playing, long practice sessions, really getting my shit together. These are amazing instruments with some of the best features I know in guitars, but the quality of the more expensive guitars just doesn't justify that price. And I don't want to, I felt bad for weeks because I basically paid lots of money for what is a proprietary neck shape that helped me a lot, but it was still a mixed bag of emotions and something that I'm highly sensible. My regular viewers know that I identify as a highly sensitive person, and I have to admit, Guitar Summit was an amazing experience, but it also broke my heart for a few weeks because I had to get over that whole experience. And obviously, there's been Aristides who helped me get over that whole topic, but I don't know. I don't want to live in a world where I pay almost 3,000 euros for a Strandberg guitar ordered from Strandberg in Europe and not get something that feels outstanding in terms of craftsmanship, in terms of attention to detail. And there were good things about all of my Strandberg guitars. But there's been this little details, itty nitty pickies in each of them that also cause frustration. There's then this not explainable gap towards the essential line. There's some things. Ola, someone from Strandberg marketing, if you ever end up seeing this by accident, all we want to see is some more innovation from your brand. Please go ahead and make like the N2 right now. I've been a software engineer for over 20 years being in that business, and that is what we call an unnecessary release. It feels like a facelift, like a UI update, so to say. And there's not that burning core, that innovative core that really made Strandberg stand out from the other guitar brands, to me personally. Um, of course, there's a big gap, and that's something I want to add. I tested Hill's headless guitars. I tested the Ibanez Q series. They don't feel like Strandbergs. If you consider any of these, please buy a Strandberg Essential. It's way more of a guitar. I was so disappointed when I laid my hand on the first Ibanez Quest guitars. It was crazy. It was really crazy. But please consider a Strandberg Essential. Consider modding it to your liking. Making it your own. I think it's the perfect guitar for that, and it's the perfect guitar to help you become a player, to play more, just like the marketing materials say. And yeah, cool. That was something I wanted to say. Please, YouTubes, drop me a follow. Destroy everything I said. As I said, I'm a highly emotional person. There's been lots of subjective things in there, lots of personal experiences. I'm not the most technical player. I'm not a metal player. I'm somewhat of an ambient, Ableton whatsoever nerd, but I have my fair shares of years of experience with the instruments. I play a lot. Everyone, thank you for watching. Please comment. Let me know what you think. How do you feel about Strandberg, about the Strandberg community, about the N2 line, about the quality? Did you ever touch a Strandberg? I don't know. Let's be more open with each other, and let's take each other into account to not only be enthusiasts for any brand. I'm not talking about Strandberg anymore. I'm talking about the Apples, the Nvidias. Let's not be enthusiasts about topics. Let's be informed decision makers and people who actually enjoy what they get involved in with. Please like, subscribe, comment, do all the good YouTube things, and yeah.